What happened to Margaret on that ordinary Tuesday morning could happen to anyone. She was 73 years old, healthy by all accounts, taking her regular medications, living independently in her own home. But on this particular morning, something went terribly wrong. Her daughter found her collapsed on the bathroom floor, unconscious with blood pooling beneath her head. The paramedics arrived within minutes, but the damage had already begun, a massive brain hemorrhage. The doctors were baffled at first. Margaret had no history of stroke, no dangerous blood pressure spikes, no brain aneurysms that anyone knew about. So what caused this sudden, life-threatening event? The answer shocked everyone, including her family physician. It was a simple morning habit, something millions of people do every single day without thinking twice, something so ordinary, so routine, that nobody would ever suspect it could trigger a catastrophic brain event. Buddhist philosophy has long taught that the smallest actions create the largest consequences. Ancient wisdom warns that what seems harmless on the surface often carries hidden danger beneath, and modern medical research is now confirming what Buddhist monks observed centuries ago. Certain common morning habits place dangerous stress on the brain and cardiovascular system, creating conditions that can lead to hemorrhage, stroke, and sudden death. This is not about rare conditions or genetic predispositions. This is about everyday actions that millions perform without realizing they are playing with fire. The human brain contains delicate blood vessels, intricate networks of arteries and veins that can rupture under sudden pressure. Certain morning habits create exactly this kind of pressure, spiking blood flow to dangerous levels in mere seconds. What happened to Margaret was preventable. What is happening right now in bathrooms across the world is preventable. But prevention requires knowledge. It requires understanding which innocent-seeming habits transform a normal morning routine into a medical emergency waiting to happen. Before revealing the specific habit that caused Margaret's collapse and the other dangerous morning practices that Buddhist health principles warn against, it is essential to understand something important. This information could save a life. It could save your life or the life of someone you love. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss health wisdom that could make the difference between safety and catastrophe. And as you watch, reflect on your own morning routine. Ask yourself which of these habits you might be practicing without realizing the danger. Then comment below with the mantra, "I protect my brain and honor my body." This simple affirmation reminds the mind and body that health requires awareness, that safety requires knowledge, and that prevention requires action. Write it now in the comments. I protect my brain and honor my body. This declaration creates commitment. It prepares the mind to receive what follows not as mere information, but as life-saving wisdom requiring immediate application. Buddhist philosophy teaches that the body is a temple, but it is a temple that requires proper care and understanding. Ancient monks studied the human body not through dissection and surgery as modern medicine does, but through observation of patterns, recognition of cause and effect, and understanding of how small actions ripple outward into large consequences. They notice that certain times of day carry particular vulnerabilities. They observed that the morning hours, specifically the first 30 to 90 minutes after waking, represent a period of heightened risk for the cardiovascular system and the brain. Modern science now explains why. During sleep, the body enters a state of reduced blood pressure and slowed heart rate. Blood thickens slightly, circulation decreases. The brain operates in different patterns, shifting between sleep cycles, processing memories, and repairing cellular damage. Then comes the moment of waking. The transition from sleep to full consciousness is not instantaneous, even though it feels that way. The body must shift from parasympathetic dominance, the rest and digest mode, into sympathetic activation, the alert and active mode. This transition involves hormonal cascades, particularly the release of cortisol and adrenaline. It involves blood pressure increases as the circulatory system ramps up to full operating capacity. It involves changes in blood thickness as hydration levels shift and the body prepares for movement. For most people, this transition happens gradually and safely, but certain actions accelerate this transition dramatically, forcing the body to shift from rest to high alert in seconds rather than minutes. These rapid transitions create spikes, blood pressure spikes, heart rate spikes, intracranial pressure spikes, and when these spikes occur in a brain that contains weak blood vessels, perhaps weakened by age, by years of poor diet, by chronic stress, or by genetic predisposition, the result can be catastrophic. The vessel ruptures, blood floods into brain tissue, a hemorrhage begins. By the time symptoms appear, confusion, sudden severe headache, loss of consciousness, the damage is already underway. Number one, straining during bowel movements, the silent brain killer. The habit that caused Margaret's collapse was this. She strained forcefully during a morning bowel movement while holding her breath. This is the Valsalva maneuver, a practice so common that most people do not even realize they are doing it. When constipation makes elimination difficult, the natural response is to push harder, to bear down with the abdominal muscles, to hold the breath and strain with increasing force until something happens. This feels necessary. It feels like the only way to achieve results, but what it actually does is create a pressure bomb inside the skull. Here is what happens during forceful straining. The abdominal muscles contract powerfully, compressing the contents of the abdomen. This compression increases pressure in the thoracic cavity, the chest area. Increased thoracic pressure restricts blood flow returning from the head through the jugular veins. At the same time, holding the breath closes the glottis, the opening of the windpipe, creating a sealed system where pressure has nowhere to escape. Blood that should be draining from the brain backs up. Intracranial pressure spikes. At the same time, the straining effort forces blood pressure upward dramatically. In mere seconds, blood pressure can increase by 40, 50, even 60 points. For someone whose normal blood pressure is already elevated, perhaps sitting at 140/90 without any symptoms, this spike can push levels to 200/120. Now combine these two factors, increased pressure inside the skull from backed up blood and increased force of blood trying to push through vessels from elevated blood pressure. The brain's blood vessels face pressure from both sides simultaneously. Weak spots rupture. Aneurysms that were stable suddenly burst. Tiny vessels tear, and the hemorrhage begins. Buddhist teachings warn that force creates counterforce. Ancient wisdom teaches that what goes up must come down, that pressure-seeking release will find release, and that the body's delicate systems cannot withstand violent action without consequence. Modern medicine confirms these observations. Studies show that straining during bowel movements is a documented trigger for brain hemorrhage, particularly in people over 60. The elderly face higher risk because blood vessels naturally weaken with age, becoming less elastic, more brittle, more prone to rupture under sudden stress. Years of cholesterol buildup, inflammation, and oxidative damage make vessel walls fragile. High blood pressure, even if controlled with medication, leaves vessels scarred and vulnerable. Diabetes damages the smallest capillaries throughout the brain. All of these factors create a situation where one moment of forceful straining, one instance of bearing down while holding the breath, can cause catastrophic failure. The tragedy is that this happens most often in the bathroom, a private space where help is not immediately available. Collapse occurs behind closed doors. Precious minutes pass before anyone realizes something is wrong. By the time the ambulance arrives, the bleeding has spread, the damage has expanded, and the prognosis has darkened. Prevention is simple but requires awareness and commitment. First, never strain forcefully during bowel movements. If elimination does not happen easily within a minute or two of gentle effort, stop and try again later. Do not bear down with increasing force. Do not hold the breath while pushing. Instead, breathe normally, allowing pressure to release naturally. Second, address chronic constipation through dietary changes rather than relying on force. Buddhist dietary principles emphasize fiber from vegetables, fruits, and whole grains. Modern nutrition confirms that adequate fiber softens stool and promotes easy elimination. Water intake proves equally critical. The elderly often do not drink sufficient water, allowing dehydration to harden stool and necessitate straining. 8 glasses daily, more in hot weather or dry climates, keeps elimination smooth. Third, establish regular elimination patterns by responding to natural urges promptly rather than delaying. The body signals when elimination is optimal. Ignoring these signals forces the colon to reabsorb water from stool, hardening it further. Fourth, consider natural stool softeners if constipation persists despite dietary changes. Prune juice, magnesium supplements, or psyllium husk provide gentle assistance without the harsh effects of stimulant laxatives. But understand this clearly. The moment of straining, that instant when frustration leads to bearing down with held breath and maximum force, is the moment of maximum danger. This is when blood pressure spikes to dangerous levels. This is when intracranial pressure reaches critical points. This is when weak vessels rupture and hemorrhage begins. Number 2, jumping out of bed immediately upon waking. The second dangerous morning habit occurs in the transition from horizontal rest to vertical activity. Many people, upon hearing the alarm or naturally waking, immediately sit up quickly, swing their legs out of bed, and stand up to begin the day. This rapid transition from lying down to standing up creates a phenomenon called orthostatic stress, where the cardiovascular system must suddenly compensate for gravity's effects. Buddhist philosophy teaches that abrupt transitions create instability. Ancient wisdom emphasizes gradual change, smooth movement from one state to another, and respect for the body's need to adjust to new conditions. Modern physiology explains exactly why these teachings matter. During sleep, blood distributes evenly throughout the body in a horizontal position. The heart does not need to work against gravity to pump blood to the brain. Blood pressure remains relatively low. Then comes the sudden shift to vertical. Gravity immediately pulls blood downward into the legs and lower body. The brain, now positioned above the heart, requires increased pressure to maintain adequate blood flow. For most people, the body compensates automatically through baroreceptor reflexes. Sensors in blood vessels detect the pressure drop and signal the heart to beat faster and harder. Blood vessels in the legs constrict to prevent blood pooling. Within seconds, blood pressure adjusts and brain perfusion normalizes. But this compensation takes time. In elderly individuals or those with autonomic nervous system dysfunction, the adjustment happens more slowly. During those few seconds of adjustment, blood pressure in the brain drops dangerously low. This is orthostatic hypotension, the cause of dizziness upon standing. For most, this produces only momentary lightheadedness, but for some, the blood pressure drop is so severe that consciousness wavers, falls occur, and falls for elderly people, especially falls from full standing height onto hard bathroom tile, prove catastrophic. Hip fractures, skull fractures, brain bleeds from impact trauma, all these injuries stem from that moment of lost balance. Even when falls do not occur, the rapid standing creates a different danger. The heart must suddenly work much harder to overcome gravity. Heart rate spikes. Blood pressure increases dramatically to compensate for the previous drop. This rapid increase in pressure, this sudden surge through blood vessels that were just a moment ago in rest mode, creates stress on vessel walls. For vessels already weakened by age or disease, this stress can cause rupture, small tears can begin, microhemorrhages can occur, and while a single episode might not cause obvious damage, repeated daily stress over months and years contributes to vessel deterioration, making catastrophic hemorrhage more likely. The solution requires patience and awareness. Upon waking, remain lying down for 30 to 60 seconds. Allow consciousness to fully return. Allow the mind to shift from sleep patterns to waking awareness, then roll onto the side and use the arms to push into a sitting position rather than doing a sit-up motion, which increases abdominal pressure. Sit on the edge of the bed for another 30 to 60 seconds. Allow the blood pressure to adjust to this intermediate position. Notice if any dizziness or lightheadedness occurs. Then stand slowly, maintaining contact with the bed or wall for stability until balance fully returns. This entire process takes only 2 minutes. 2 minutes of gradual transition that could prevent years of disability or sudden death. Buddhist practitioners understand this. Morning rituals in monasteries involve slow, deliberate movements. Monks sit on the edge of their sleeping mats before standing. They move with awareness, paying attention to the body's signals, respecting the transition from rest to activity. This is not superstition or spiritual practice disconnected from physical reality. This is practical wisdom based on centuries of observation about how the body functions optimally and what creates danger. Number 3, taking hot showers immediately after waking. The third dangerous habit involves the morning shower, particularly the hot morning shower that many people use to wake themselves up and start the day. Hot water creates vasodilation, the widening of blood vessels throughout the body. This happens as a thermoregulatory response. When the skin detects heat, blood vessels near the surface expand to release heat and cool the body. This response is automatic and powerful. Buddhist teachings about balance and the middle way apply directly here. Extreme heat or extreme cold both stress the body. The middle path, warm but not hot, cool but not cold, proves safest. Modern medicine confirms that hot showers, particularly in the morning, create specific cardiovascular risks. When hot water hits the skin, peripheral blood vessels dilate. Blood rushes to the surface. This means blood shifts away from the core, away from vital organs, away from the brain. At the same time, the heat causes heart rate to increase as the cardiovascular system works to cool the body. The combination of dilated vessels and increased heart rate creates a situation where blood pressure can drop suddenly. For someone who just got out of bed moments earlier, whose blood pressure is still adjusting to vertical position, this additional drop can cause syncope, fainting in the shower. Falls in the shower prove particularly dangerous because of hard surfaces, sharp corners, and the difficulty of maintaining balance on wet tile. But the danger extends beyond fainting risk. For people with coronary artery disease, the increased heart rate combined with the stress of temperature change can trigger angina or even heart attack. For people with unstable blood pressure, the rapid changes can trigger cardiac arrhythmias. And for people with weak cerebral blood vessels, the sudden pressure changes as blood redistributes away from the brain can cause rupture. The steam and heat of a hot shower also affect breathing. Hot, humid air makes breathing feel more labored. For elderly people with lung conditions, this can cause oxygen levels to drop, further stressing the cardiovascular system. The combination of low blood pressure, elevated heart rate, reduced oxygen, and stress on blood vessels creates a perfect storm for medical emergency. Prevention requires temperature moderation and timing awareness. First, never take a hot shower immediately upon waking. Allow at least 15 to 20 minutes after getting out of bed before showering. This gives the cardiovascular system time to fully adjust to being vertical and active. Second, use warm water rather than hot water. The water should feel pleasant but not create steam or cause the skin to turn red. Buddhist principles teach that pleasure should not require pain or stress. A comfortable warm shower provides the same cleansing benefits as a scalding hot shower without the cardiovascular risks. Third, keep shower duration moderate, 10 to 15 minutes maximum. Prolonged heat exposure intensifies the cardiovascular stress. Fourth, transition gradually when finishing the shower. Do not suddenly turn the water cold as some health trends suggest. Extreme cold creates the opposite problem, sudden vasoconstriction and blood pressure spikes. Instead, gradually reduce water temperature toward the end of the shower, allowing the body to adjust smoothly. Then step out carefully, dry off, and sit for a moment before dressing and continuing with the morning routine. This information saves lives. What happened to Margaret started with a simple morning habit, a moment of straining during bowel movement that seemed harmless until it triggered catastrophe. What happens in bathrooms every single day reflects a broader pattern of unconscious action, routine behaviors performed without awareness of their consequences. Buddhist philosophy teaches that awakening means becoming conscious of what is unconscious, seeing what is hidden, understanding what is overlooked. Modern health requires exactly this kind of awakening. The body gives signals: slight dizziness upon standing, difficulty with elimination, fatigue in response to hot showers. These signals warn of vulnerability, but most people ignore the signals until something goes wrong. Margaret ignored the signals. She knew she had constipation issues, but used force rather than addressing the underlying problem. She knew she sometimes felt dizzy upon standing, but attributed it to age rather than orthostatic hypotension. She knew hot showers sometimes left her feeling drained, but continued the habit because it felt normal. These small ignorances accumulated into catastrophic consequence. The brain hemorrhage did not come from nowhere. It emerged from years of dangerous habits, repeated daily stress, and failure to make simple changes that would have prevented disaster. Now is the moment for change. Examine morning routines honestly. Notice which of these 3 dangerous habits appears in daily life. Make the commitment to eliminate the danger starting tomorrow morning. Move slowly when getting out of bed. Never strain during elimination. Use warm rather than hot water in the shower. These small changes cost nothing, require minimal effort, and could prevent catastrophe. If you found this information valuable, if it opened awareness to hidden dangers in daily routine, make sure you have liked this video and subscribed to the channel. Share this with family members, particularly elderly parents or grandparents who may be practicing these dangerous habits without realizing the risk. And remember the mantra posted in the comments: I protect my brain and honor my body. This is not just words. This is commitment to awareness, to prevention, to treating the body with the respect and care it deserves. Buddhist wisdom teaches that the body is a gift, a temporary home for consciousness, a vehicle for experiencing life. Honoring this gift means protecting it from unnecessary harm. Modern medicine provides the knowledge to do exactly that. The combination of ancient wisdom and current science offers complete protection when applied with awareness and consistency. Margaret survived her brain hemorrhage, but recovery took months of rehabilitation. Speech therapy to regain communication, physical therapy to relearn walking, cognitive therapy to restore memory and thinking. Her life was forever changed by one moment of forceful straining in the bathroom. That moment was preventable. The catastrophe was avoidable. Learn from her experience. Make the changes now before crisis forces them. The brain and body will respond with continued health, sustained function, and the gift of safety that comes from living with awareness rather than unconscious routine.